when I came back from the army and shit, I bought all this cocaine.
Shalom, it's that time again, Israel. It's the Lord's 54th annual Passover in North Carolina.
Y'all know what we do. Y'all know what we came to do. Huh?
The Isupk, under Commander General Yohana, will be hosting the Lord's 54th annual Passover in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Downtown Convention Center. This is something that you do not want to miss. Make sure that y'all bring the entire family.
Oh, you think I'm bullshitting? Wait till I get richer. If I gotta go to ground, I'ma shut the town down. I ain't about to stop until I hit sand down. All you gonna see is a lot of men down.
The Downtown Raleigh Convention Center.
We ain't never stopping now. You running now. All my niggas go to ground. We go to ground. You dealing with the metaphor.
For Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians. Go to isupk.com to purchase your tickets today. $200 per every adult over the age of 17 years old.
We are not the same. No, we not related. I'm not stuck on living. Death is a vacation. My camp undefeated. You cannot debate. You just want the clout.
The
We
Lord,
just want the praise.
54th annual Passover, April the 1st, is coming down to Raleigh, North Carolina. Commander General Yohana has done it again. You don't want to miss this. Pull your thoughts. Pull your thoughts.
And by then, they destroyed the community.
Not surprised at all.
And not only that, the surrounding streets were closed off.
If you look, I'm gonna show. I got pictures. I uploaded them to the joint. If you
Yeah, man. You know, like the white man is the devil. Everywhere we look.
Hey, Shalom, how about Shimon Shabbat? What's going on, young man? Can you hear me out?
Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Barakatah.
Damn right. You hear me good?
Khan on one Khan.
My son in Christ. Excellent. All right. We're gonna get right into it. Salakia, let me adjust this. Bear with me just a moment. There we go. We'll put that link in the chat for anyone who would like to join the live. Bear with me. No. We don't use that one no more. Now we on Isupk Durham YouTube, Isupk Durham Facebook, and Judah Lions Facebook as well. I think it's because when you created it, you put 12 tribes. When I went in, I changed it. Come no sweat. Most High in Christ. All right, Shalom. Yahweh Shemel Shah, broken thumb to all the brothers. Yahweh Shemar, Alathan by Shemel Shah to all the sisters. It's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. You understand? We out here in Durham, North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? For the Friday night Lashawan Qadash class. Priest and Officer of 1,000 Thabawan, holding it down with my brother Officer 500 Yanazar. All right. And so as per usual, we're going to continue what we left off on last week. Keep building up this knowledge base. You know what I'm saying? Let me put this light on Slack here. Keep building up this knowledge base of this Hebrew. All right. So today, we're going to kind of break it up into 2 parts. We're going to do the same thing we did last week. This right here was excellent how we broke this down. Brothers and sisters had an opportunity to, you know what I'm saying, to understand the flow of, of pronunciation, how we get things to be pronounced when we're reading it in the Hebrew, right? So we're going to do the same thing again today with the next verse. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 3. Right, but before we do that, let me let the sister in. Shalom, sis. Before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a refresher on April. This the name, right, sis?
Khan, sir.
Khan. With the water. Yeah, you just needed your name for the attendance, the water. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a bit of a refresher today, right? Early on, 2 things I want to refresh our memory on. All right. So I'll still say alphabet refresher, right? But how we want to look at it is we want to refresh our memory in terms of where's my marker? In terms of basically like how to write it, like, you know what I mean, like the shape of the letters. All right, so we'll say alphabet refresher, and we'll focus specifically on we won't say pictographs, we'll just say writing. Then we're gonna go into a refresher of our prepositions and our possessives. So we'll just say prefixes and suffixes. Refresher, because that will help us identify some of these little quirky things we have here, right, in our transliteration, so we know ahead of time to help us with not just pronunciation but with writing, and really pronunciation is like the main thing, but that's what we can gather from knowing these suffixes. When we see them ahead of time, they'll alert us to the ways in which we have to approach
pronouncing certain words. All right, and then finally, we'll end the class with Genesis chapter 1 and verse 3. Right, and if we have time, we'll go ahead and go to 1 and 4, but we'll do that one only in Assyrian, if we have time. All right. Most High in Christ. All right. Good to go. All right, but let's start off with a couple of scriptures. Okay, let's start off with a couple of scriptures. Give me the one. Give me the one in the Apocrypha. You know the one I like. Let's start with that one. Again, everybody, if you could like, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Share this video all on your social media. You know what I mean? Let's push this truth, push these classes in the Isupk and the Commander General Yohana. The prologue, you know, let's get that prologue. And then we'll get Zephaniah 2 and 1. Because real fast to remind ourselves the importance of our culture. You know what I mean? You can go ahead and start reading it.
That's the one. Okay, this is the prologue. Hey, shalom to the brother and the sister out there that's watching. This is the prologue to the book of Ecclesiasticus. And it reads, this portion of it reads, "Wherefore, let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem to come short of some words, which we have labored to interpret. For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them."
Very, very simple, very straight and to the point. The same thing. This is from the mouth of the brothers translating it. This is from the mouth of those who put in the work. Right now, we've talked about many times what we're reading right now. This is an English translation of something that actually would have been written in Greek at the time. So when he was translating it, he's translating it into Greek. Okay, he was not this brother Jesus, you know, that's his name, right? Was back during the time of the Greeks, right? So his translation that he's talking about is translating it from what? From Hebrew into Greek. All right. And now we're reading it, another translation of the translation later on down the road. You understand? But nonetheless, he's saying the importance of knowing the Hebrew. It's cannot be understated. All right. Most High in Christ. So if you could continue, brother.
And not only these things.
Right. Now by not only these things, he simply means what? Not only what you're about to read here in the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? This is one book within the Bible. You know what I'm saying? We say the Apocrypha just so that you know we're talking about that collection called the hidden books, but this is still the Bible. It's not separate. It's not, an extra book. The Apocrypha is the Bible, okay? So he said, not only these things, not just what you're about to read. Go ahead.
But the law itself.
But the law itself. Meaning what? Those first 5 books, man, that tell you what? How to conduct yourself. That tell you what to eat, what not to eat, who you can marry, who you cannot marry, how to deal with a brother, a businessman, how to conduct your business, how to deal with your customers. All of those laws that we're taught. It was how to deal with your parents, your siblings, how to deal with another brother or a sister, a friend, so on. All those things we read in the law. He just said that the same thing uttered in Hebrew does, Salaki, I'm paraphrasing, is of a different effect when you read it in a different language. It doesn't have the same effect as when you read it in Hebrew. Not just what you're about to read that I translated, but also the law itself. Go ahead.
And the prophets.
And the prophets, in case somebody thought, well, we just talking about Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. But no, you also got the prophets. You got Micah, You know what I'm saying? You got give me some more prophets.
Ezekiel,
Daniel, Hosea,
Jeremiah.
Joel, Amos, Jeremiah, right? All of them. So the prophets too. Go ahead.
And the rest of the book.
And the rest of the books, because you also got what? You got Chronicles, you got First and Second Kings, you know what I'm saying? So you got all this, you got the books in the Apocrypha, all of that too. So in other words, what? He's talking about the Bible. The entire Bible. It's not the same as when it's uttered in Hebrew. Go ahead.
When have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language.
In their own language. I love how he says that, right? Because Hebrew is its own language. And there's no small difference. That's why we go back to the original source. We go back to the original. Like I said, man, y'all need to give yourselves props. You know what I mean? Be very proud of what you're doing, because look at what you're doing here, man. Look at this. This is ancient writing that you are reading and transliterating. You understand? The proper pronunciation. The rest of the world does not know this. If they even know what any of these symbols would say, they'll say nasty things like shalom and shalom and stuff like that that is not Hebrew or is not correct grammar or all the different mistakes that they make. But we're learning how to pronounce these things correctly and appropriately. Any more on that, Yanazor?
No, that's it, sir.
Most High in Christ. Drop that. Give me Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. You understand? There's a scripture that says that, you know what I'm saying, you got to study to show thyself approved. You have to study to show thyself approved. Doesn't mean, it doesn't say you got to dance. Doesn't say you got to sing. You got to study. So we study, okay? And we put our best foot forward, you know what I'm saying, to learn these things so we can show ourselves approved to the Most High, that we care about this. All right, you got that, brother? All right, read that.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation, not desired.
Right there, man. The Bible tells us to gather together, O nation, not desired. You understand? We're that nation that's not desired. I mean, who else could it be? Who else could be that nation that's not desired? I mean, is there someone else? You tell me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it could be somebody else who could be that nation that's not desired. What y'all think? Who's that nation that's not desired? And give me an example. What's an example of being that nation not desired? Anybody?
Salakia, sir.
Please, Jonathan.
Everybody wants what you got, but nobody wants to be you.
Right. Everybody, you know, my man, what you say Paul Moody used to say that everybody want to be a nigga, but nobody want to be a nigga, right? And is that not the truth? Is it not true that everybody wants to take your music, your culture, they want to dress like you, they want to dance like you, they want to talk like you. They want all of that. But they don't want to get thrown in jail like you. They don't want to be the last hired and the first fired like you. Come on. They don't. That's what they don't want. You understand? They don't want to be in abortion clinics like you. They'll push abortion all day long and go to their congressman and say, "Oh, women's rights and women's rights." But how come they don't line up the abortion clinics like you do? You understand? They want they want to look like you and all of that, but they don't want your lifestyle. They don't want to live in the ghetto like you. You know what I'm saying? They don't want that. Shoot, I'm sure. Hey, y'all got any ghettos? I know y'all got some ghettos in the Bahamas. I joke with the brother. I talk about them beaches, but I know there's some ghettos in the Bahamas that they don't talk about. Am I right, young man?
Khan and the one Khan.
Damn right. But don't nobody when they want to go to the Bahamas, they want to come to Jamaica and feel all right and go to Trinidad and all of that, but they don't want to go to the ghetto. They want to stay on the resort.
Hey, Salakia, sir.
Yeah,
Can I do an honorable mention, sir?
Please.
In Jamaica, they burnt down this hotel in Jamaica.
Wow.
And the reason why they burnt down the hotel, I posted the article on Facebook, so I got it if you want to see it. Yeah. Because the hotel in Jamaica, Jamaicans wasn't allowed to go into the hotel, brother.
Good night.
And they burnt that bad boy down. Okay,
No, the water for that, because that's that right there is being a nation not desired. When you're gonna go to Jamaica and you're gonna use Jamaicans in your commercial and have, you know what I'm saying, black Jamaicans together and sing the songs and dance and show the lovely little Jamaican kids running up and down the beach, but then they can't even go to the damn hotel. You understand? And this is the case at a lot of these places. As the brother just said, who's ever heard of a ghetto in the Bahamas? You've never heard of it. All you see is white sand and white people. Yeah, and beautiful little houses on the beach that you can't afford. You understand? That is being a nation not desired. All right? Any more on that, Yanazor?
Verse 3. Verse 2. Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff.
Right. You drop that. Give me Psalm 83 real fast. Right. Salakia. Just wanted to get through these. Right. What we're going to do is I'm going to put the alphabet up on the screen like we did last week. And we're going to go over just a little bit again of how we write these letters. Okay. So bear with me. Go ahead, Yanazor.
Which verse you want me to start at?
Verse 1 should be fine.
Come. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God.
Mm-hmm.
Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult,
Right.
and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Verse 3, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Right, this is King David talking, pleading with the Most High to not be silent. He wants him to deal with this problem. Go ahead.
And thy hidden one.
Right. He said the enemies of the Most High have gone against the Most High by what? By going after his people. That's how they go against the Most High, by attacking his people. You understand? Go ahead.
Verse 4, they have said.
This is the key part right here. This is what they said. This is what this confederation of heathens said. Read.
Come.
They said, come on, let's all come together. Go ahead.
And let us cut them off.
And let us cut them off. Let us separate them. Go ahead.
From being a nation.
From being a what?
A nation.
Let us stop them from even being a nation. Now, you got to tell me who else on earth even fits this description. Who else? I mean, it's very simple. Who else on earth, when you ask them what they are, has no idea what to say? Who? Who else on earth, when you ask them what they are, they say something that makes no sense? A black man tell you, what's your nationality? I'm American. I'm a Christian. I'm black. What the hell is, where's the land of black? You know what I mean? You American. So wait, so you the same race, you the same nationality as Brad Pitt? That doesn't make sense, right? You ask some Hispanic brother where he's from, he thinks his motherland is Spain. That's what he thinks. Meanwhile, the Queen of Spain, Isabella and Ferdinand and all of them back in the 1600s were the people that was sending people to molest and rape and rob your grandmother, your great grandmother in the 16 and 14 and 1500s. Okay, but we don't know who we are because we've been cut off from being what? A nation. Go ahead.
That the name of Israel may
The
be
name
no
of
more.
what?
The name of Israel.
That's it. That the name of Israel, go ahead.
May be no more in remembrance.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And right now, Israel is no more in remembrance. You understand? I mean, tell a black man he's an Israelite, it looks like you have three heads. You understand? The name of Israel is no more in remembrance. Okay? We don't know who we are. And the people claiming to be Israel are absolutely not. So it still remains the real Israel is no more in remembrance. They don't remember what you're seeing on your screen right now. This is no longer in remembrance. You understand? This is no longer in remembrance. Any more on that?
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee.
Right. You could drop it right there. They're confederate against us. All these. Then it goes into the list all the nations who are confederate against us. All right. So in other words, being that nation, man, we have to come together, and this is part of that. This is part of getting back to our nation. All right. This is part of what they cut us off from. They cut us off from our culture. So we're gonna get back to it. You understand? Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shah for the ISUPK and the Commander General Yohana. This is how we return to that. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm gonna ask you to direct your attention to this right here, right? This page that has these letters on it, right? We're gonna do this very, very fast. Okay, real quick. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do this like this, Salakia, right? So I know y'all can't see yourselves on the screen, but no sweat, I'll bring y'all back right now. I'm just gonna use my side to just show how we go about writing these letters. You know what I'm saying? There's a word. I'm gonna get the word in just a moment, but let me zoom in so y'all can see this clear. All right, we're gonna start. All right. We're gonna start with We're gonna do each letter together in both Assyrian and Ancient, okay? Salakia. I think letter form is the word I'm looking for. Yes, letter form, Salakia. Letter form. Always messing up my words. Alphabet refresher, we're going to call it writing/letter form. Okay. So letter form simply means the graphic form of a letter of the alphabet, either as written or in a particular type font. Okay. Right. It's just telling you basically like the typography. Right. A letter form is the term used especially in typography, paleography, or calligraphy, and epigraphy to mean a letter's shape. Simple. Letter form simply means a letter's shape. All right. So if everybody can see what we have on the screen. All right. So the first letter, my bad. Did I exit out? Why did I do that? My bad. Salaki. Okay. All right. So the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is what? Anybody?
The answer.
Okay. The water. Yeah. Right? In ancient, it's simply going to be it's not a coincidence. It's just a sideways A, pretty much. Right? That's what it ultimately looks like. Okay. It's a pictograph representing a cow or a bull, right? That's actually what it is. It's a simplified form. If you look up the original symbol for the is much more. It looks more like a bovine animal, right? But it would take too long to draw. So this is the simplified form that was basically the first to be practical. You know, as we've discussed many times, it's the first form of the letter that is useful. It's the first form of the letter that is useful, right, in writing kind of quickly and every day. All right. Now our right, is simply going to be written as such. Salakia. So like it's everybody, if you could, if you're not saying anything, just mute your mic, Baba Kusha. Just mute your mic. There you go. Perfect. The water sis. Right. If you got if you want to ask a question or make a comment, then you just go ahead and unmute yourself. But it's just so we don't get feedback from the mics. right? And so this is the ah, right? So this is ah, okay? And then in Assyrian, we're going to draw it as such. We're going to write this curved line like this, okay? And then a kind of straight line like this with a little, what is the word for a crossing of a T again, Yanazar? Jot. There we go. The jot. Yanazar remembers from that scripture, one jot or one tittle. Okay. So up top, we have what? We have ancient. Right. And you should see this on the sheet on the screen. We have ancient. And then we have Assyrian. Okay. Now we're going to roll right along. What's the next letter of the Hebrew alphabet?
Ba, sir.
Ba. Ba. All right, ba. In ancient, the ba is going to be like this. It's a hook like this with a kind of triangular top as such. And again, no coincidence. Who can remember what this pictograph represents? Good. Right. But specifically, what about a tent? Because this is, of course, not the word or symbol that we use for the word tent. Or is it? No, it is. Bayath, right? Khan, Salaki, my bad, you correct. Bayath is where this word comes from. Ba, as in Bayath, which means tent. This pictograph is representing a tent sitting on the ground, and this hook right here is representative of like an anchor. The pegs, right? That hook into the ground to prevent the tent from flying off. All right. And that's in ancient. In Assyrian, the ba is going to look like this curved line that comes down. It's got to be curved up here, and then it just a flat base. Okay. Most High in Christ. Next one. What is the next letter of the Hebrew alphabet?
Or Ga, sir.
Right. Ga. Ga. Okay. So the Ga in ancient is a simple it's like a right angle, but it's almost like shaped like the top of a triangle with part of it left off. Who remembers what word is represented by this symbol? What is the pictograph associated with this? Who remembers? Let me see if anybody online knows. What you got, Yanazar?
Test it. Okay. The Ga is Gamel or the camel.
You don't want to say you right, but you don't want to say Gamel because that's what heathens say.
Yeah.
Right? They'll say Gamel, but we know the word is actually what? Gamal. Gamal, right?
Right.
Gamal, which means what?
Camel.
Right, a camel. So because this symbol is representing a camel's hump, the hump of a camel. Which, don't listen to Jackie Chan, it is not lawful to eat. Cannot eat camels, right? Gamal. In the Assyrian, now this letter, when you see it here, so I'm gonna show you this, Salakia. You see it here in the Salakia. You see it right here. This is it in the Assyrian, but this is the printed form. When we write it out, you know what I'm saying, is going to look a little something like this. All right. It's not going to be perfect, obviously, but that's what you're going for. You're kind of going for sort of, again, like this right angle top, right? And then it kind of shoots off as such. Okay. Perfect. Now, let's continue. All right, so we got the ga, abaga,
Da.
da. The water for that. The da. Okay. Now the da is very simple in the ancient. We know the da. Why? Because it's, what do we get from this? What very common, I'm gonna give it to you, but
A door.
that is correct. That is what the word
Or a tent door.
comes from, right? Because it's, imagine a tent, right? If you have like a tent, right, like almost like a teepee, like a tent, but the tent would fold, right, and then you would have a doorway like this. This is the entrance of the tent, Salakia. So yes, that's correct. But what well-known symbol comes from this?
So like I said, the shield of David.
That's correct. Give him a hand. The shield. Notice the brother didn't say a star because it is not a star. Because stars do not have 6 points. Stars are, big balls of hydrogen gas and helium and all of this. That's what stars are. They're not shapes. Okay. This is where we get the Dawada, because the Magun Dawada, Magun means shield. Because why? Because King David's name was spelled like such. So I'm doing it backwards. Da, wa, da. Da and da. Okay. So when he would sign his signet or his signature, it's no different than somebody named, if somebody's name is George Williams, you know what I'm saying? He might sign his name like with a big G and a W or something like that, right? Well, King David did the same thing. He would take the da, he would take one da and another da. And that's how you knew, these are orders from King David himself, because his signet is on it. His signature is on it. All right. Beautiful. And then in Assyrian, the da is going to be another, almost like a right angle, but it's just going to extend at the top and then come back down. All right. Y'all got that? No sign in Christ. Salaki. So in case that is still the da. All right. Now moving on. Abagada.
Ha.
Ha. Beautiful. Right? The ha. Okay. In ancient, the ha is essentially a slightly tilted, it's like a backwards F, but it has 3 lines. That's the ha. Okay. And then in Assyrian, the ha, remember this is important, is going to be a singular kind of short line like this. And then this top line, which curves down, becoming parallel with it, does not connect to it. That is important. It's going to be like this. But there's a space right here. It does not connect right here. Okay, y'all see that? Make sure that this has this space. If you don't have this space, or if you have it too close to where it looks like there's no space, this can be confused with any of plethora of other letters. You know what I'm saying? Again, if somebody's not really looking very closely, it could look almost like a tha, right? If you connect it. It can also kind of look like a ka, right? Not really in the written form, but more so in the printed form is very difficult to distinguish. Again, anybody that's read it, that reads it at the Sabbath service can tell you how difficult to distinguish them they are. Let me just show you real quick. That is a hop. That's a hop. But let me see if I can find a hop. You can go check it out, right? Matter of fact, this word. It looks like monaka. Right under my thumb, you see this word. Those last two letters right there. Monaka. Those last two letters, one is a ka and one is a ha. And look at how similar they look. They're very difficult to distinguish if you're not paying attention. Okay? I know it's a little fuzzy. Can't resist the whole auto focus and all that. But that's why it is so important to make sure that you have a firm, a good, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be able to see that space. Okay, when you write it, you need to see that space. All right, that's the ha. Abagadaha.
Wow.
Wa. Beautiful. Wa. Now, in the ancient, the wa, it comes from the word for fish hook, which is why it is shaped like this. Okay? Wow, which is a fish hook. And then you have in Assyrian, the wa is going to be a slanted line like such. Actually, it's a little more dramatic than that. There we go. That's the wa. All right. All right, next. Abagadaha wa.
Za.
Za. Here's an easy one. In the ancient, the za is what? Who could tell me what the za is in the ancient? It's right there in front of you.
It's Zed, sir.
Right, it's a Z. It's the same thing. It's the same. It's literally has not changed in over 1,000 years from ancient Hebrew, you understand, to modern English, to show you the connection between the language. One of the ways you can see the connection between the languages is this. It hasn't changed. It's the same symbol. All right. And then in the Assyrian, it's going to be like a kind of like a in Spanish, an accent called a tilde or tilde, right? It's kind of like this, right? But then now you have this kind of somewhat crooked line that comes beneath it, right? And then you have the za in Assyrian and in ancient. I'm gonna actually write larger on the next one, Salaki, because even though the screen is there, I want to make sure I see it very clearly. So abagadaha waza.
Ka.
Khan, right? Ha. It's a tough one. We know it's a tough one. But, and it's written like this. But remember, this is not cha, right? The only reason we write it this way is to distinguish it from ka. That's the only reason. And if we just wrote with a C, then you might say sa or something like that, or you might still say ka. But we want to show that this letter, like we always talk about, is kind of this middle ground between the ka and the ha. To see how we go ka. The ka, we form that in the back of our throat. The ka, pause, right? Ka, ka. That's where the friction is. The back of the throat, back of the tongue, ka, ka, right? But then we also have this ha, which doesn't really have a lot of friction. It's just using our teeth to form that sound. Ha. We got ka, we got ha. This letter is somewhere in the middle of those. It's not ka, it's not as harsh as ka, and it's not as soft as ha. It has a little more friction than ha, but a little less friction than ka. It's ha. Ha. Okay? It's a funny one. Takes time to get, even I, and a lot to be quite honest with you, just so you understand and don't get confused. You're gonna hear brothers say ka. Let's just face what it is. You're gonna hear brothers say ka because we speak English and we come from a background that is not an ancient Hebrew background. We didn't grow up reading this language, so it's very difficult for us to input this in our everyday speech when we're used to we're not even used to in English having consonants like this. We don't have this in English. Okay, so that's why you're still gonna hear people say what? Captain Katazar. You're still gonna hear people say Yaramak, right? When technically Yaramak is not correct. It does not end because we have Officer Iraq. We got so if we write it in ancient, this is Iraq. Iraq. But Slovakia. Technically, this is not Yaramak. It's a much more breathy sound. It's more Yaramach. Yaramach. It's closer to that than Yaramak. Okay. But what I'm saying is, when you hear brothers say Yaramak, you know what they're saying. When you hear people say Captain Katazar, you know what they're saying. When you hear people say Tazaryak, you know what they're saying. We're not used to this kind of sound from our backgrounds of speaking English and the various languages we speak. So that's just what it is, right? But the technical correct way is ha. Right. In ancient, it looks like a ladder, but in fact, it is actually not a ladder. What is it?
A fence, sir.
Khan, give him a hand. Excellent. It is a fence. It is two posts of a fence. If we were to keep going with this pattern, right, you start to see it. Right, it's a fence. Okay. Well done. But that is the Kha. Most High in Christ. Okay. Abba Gada Ha Wa Za Ha. What's next?
Ta.
Ta. Not to be confused with Tha. This is the Ta. Ta. Now I know my Bunyamin brothers sometimes have issues with the Tas and Thas. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Captain Nighthawk. You know what I'm saying? My Ottawan. I have been Tabawan for years now. It doesn't bother me, Cap, if you're watching, you know what I'm saying? It's all good. I'm used to it, right? But that's what I'm saying when I talk about accents and things like that. We're bringing the baggage of English, the baggage of our accents when we come from Birmingham in the UK, when we come from Trinidad and Tobago, when we come from the Bahamas or Jamaica, when we come from California. You know what I'm saying? The baggage, me and Yanazar bring the baggage of coming from New York. Some brothers bring the baggage of the twang of being from down south. So certain words are harder for them to say. And that's just what it is. Okay? So ta, right? The ta in ancient, the symbol is going to be what? It's a circle with what looks like an X in the middle. It almost looks like the symbol for the X-Men. There's a circle with an X in it. Okay? In Assyrian, the ta, again, it has a similar little squiggly curved line as the za, right? It has a similar curved line like that, like the za, but instead of doing what the za does, you're gonna come down with it, and it's gonna be like a U and loop down like such. Okay, that's the ta. Next, abagada hawazahata. Good.
Wow.
Oh, okay. You said what, young man?
Wow.
Not when we already did why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give her a hand. Excellent.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Right? This is one of the most used symbols in Hebrew for my that's not, that's just from experience. You see Yah in a lot of words. And then it is also one of the most common prefixes and a common suffix. So you'll see Yah used a lot. Okay. And in ancient, the Yah again is going to be, it's going to be almost kind of like a sideways F again. This one's a little more tilted, right? And it is going to be just two, right? But then it's going to have this at the bottom, going backwards. So you can say a sideways F with a base, or you can say a sideways Z with a with that. You can describe it a few ways, but it's basically, again, this kind of right angle into another right angle in the opposite direction with a line in the middle. Okay. Then in Assyrian, the Yah is interesting in Assyrian because it's only symbol that's kind of just up. It's not. It doesn't touch the base. If we were writing this on like a piece of like loose leaf paper on like with lines, like graded paper, this would be on the line, but the line here would be down here, and the ya is just kind of floating up there. Okay. Most High in Christ. All right. A, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya.
Ka.
There we go. A strong ka. Ka, right? In ancient, right? Like a backwards C with like a sideways V on the interior. Okay. And then in the Assyrian, it's a similar concept, but it's not like a C. It's almost just a little more boxy. Like that. With no interior or anything. What do you think? Okay. That's the ka. All right, so Salakia. Where am I at? Yeah, so a, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya, ka.
La.
La. Okay. And again, another great example of the connection between ancient Hebrew and many modern languages, English being one of them. The symbol for the la in ancient is what? It's simply an L, as we know it today. Same symbol. Right? Same thing. Now, this one was a doozy for me for a long time when it came to the Assyrian. I could see it, but I just couldn't quite grasp how to like copy it when writing it until I came up with a system for it. You know what I'm saying? On how I approach writing a la in Assyrian. So how I go about it is like this. If you look on your on the sheet right here, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit. All right, you see it? So you see the printed la and then the handwritten la. So I go about it just like that. So I write, it's like a little, almost like how we did the ya. It's like a little angle at the top like such, right? And then a kind of similar thing goes out, comes down, and it comes back in like that. Like a question mark. So like this little, kind of rounded right angle at the top into a reverse question mark like this. And I'm only using these words again so you can understand the approach to the letter form, the approach to the shape. So when you write it yourself, you kind of have an idea of how to go about it, right? So you have, again, this little somewhat rounded right angle up here, and then you're going to go down the same thing, but then you're going to bring it back in like a question mark. I remember I used to write laws on the board, and Yanazar had no the hell idea what the hell I was writing on the board at all. You know what I'm saying? But even, you know what I'm saying? You gotta practice and figure it out what works for you. You know what I'm saying? Make it make sense in your mind. So, so when you approach it, it's like, okay, you have your own formula. As long as when it's done being written, it looks like how it looks right here. It looks like, how the rest of us do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? We all got our quirky ways of doing stuff. Even in English, I write my S's. I'm the only person apparently that writes his S from like the bottom up. You know what I'm saying? People think I'm weird for that. Personally, I don't see the big deal. You know what I'm saying? But everybody thinks I'm absolutely crazy because when I write an S, I go like this. People have never seen this before. Am I saying something crazy? Am I the only one who writes my S's like this? See, they don't want to say nothing. They don't want to embarrass me on the live. I know for a fact. No, but a lot of people write it from up top, and they go like, "Yeah, see, that's weird to me. I can't even. I write mine from the bottom like this. See, yeah, I can't do it. Exactly. That's all that matters. But I'm telling you, I was in here one day and got clowned because of how I write S's, man. No sweat. And here come my rib in the comments. Look at this. I definitely are. I'm the only one writing S's like this. Whatever. No sweat. All right. Moving right along. Now that I've thoroughly embarrassed myself, let's go ahead. We got Abba. Hold up. Salakia. Yeah, we got Abba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Ha, Ta, Ya, Ka, La. Where we at now?
Ma.
Ma. Another very, very prominent letter. Now, this one, we're going to have to be careful with, which reminds me, and I gotta back up a little bit. After we do the Ma, I got to back up to show something else. Because I kind of, something slipped my mind, and I got to make sure I show it. So in the ancient, the Ma is going to be like what? It's going to actually have some semblance of an M in it, right? This is a Ma in ancient. That's a Ma. Now, what you might be saying to yourself is, I don't see an M. But if you flip this symbol upside down, you would see very much that this was basically an M shape, the shape of an M. And what this represents, this comes from the word mayum, which means water. This is representing waves. This hook is just showing the connection between the water and the earth. Okay? But this is mayum, right? That's the word it comes from. Okay? That's the Ma in ancient. Now in Assyrian, there's two forms of Ma. And I forgot to show that this is also true of the Ka. This is also true of the Ka. I missed that one. We'll come back to it after this. But the Ma, okay, so the base form in Assyrian is this. It has like a floor, right? And then it goes up like this. And then remember, there's a gap here, just like that Ha. You got to have this gap. This is important, right? And then there's kind of just like a stalk like that, okay? This is used when the Ma is at the beginning or in the middle of a word, okay? That's when you're going to use this form, okay? When the word ends with a Ma, when it is the last letter in a word, it's this form. It's like a almost like a kind of rounded edged box. And now the stalk is up here. You understand? Salakia. Not the prettiest thing, but get the point. All right. That's the Ma at the end of a word. Got to keep that in mind. All right. So now let's go back to the Ka, just because I forgot that. The Ka, right? And mind you, in ancient, this doesn't exist. Ancient doesn't have multiple versions of a letter or symbol. There's no, at the beginning of a word is this one, at the end of a word is this one. No, in ancient, it's the same one all the time, no matter where it is. Right? In ancient, so the Ka in ancient again, backwards C, with this kind of V shape, right? And then we did this one in Assyrian. This is the base form that's going to be used when the ka is at the beginning or in the middle of a word. But if the ka is at the end of a word, you're going to take this same symbol, it's the same concept, and you're going to go, but you're going to keep going. Again, imagine that we're writing it on a page that has lines. This ka would be on the line. This ka would be on the line. This ka at the end of a word would go past the line. You follow me? An example of this would be, who knows the ancient Hebrew word for king? Please, John Azor.
The ancient Hebrew word for king is malak.
Right, malak. Right. Again, showing the relationship between all of these Shemitic words from these Semitic languages. Right. So if you remember, I remember, a lot of brothers, there was this big boom of everybody became a Muslim. Right. Everybody became a Muslim. Right. It really, I want to say, when did it really get its legs in New York or in America? But in New York, really, I want to say it first started picking up steam in the 20s, 30s. Would that be correct? Because when was Noble Drew Ali? Mm-hmm.
It was a small sect.
Mm-hmm.
It never really spread. It really started spreading, I would say, like 1955.
Got you.
You know, when like the Nation of Islam was born in 1930.
Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm saying. It was small at first.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about the real, when it was, even just in its infancy, 20s,
like,
30s.
Yeah.
But when it blew up, you're talking about is in the 50s.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, right? But because of that, all of a sudden, every black man in Harlem, in New York, in the tri-state area, going down south, all across America, every black man wants to be Muslim all of a sudden. Now they got to learn what? They got to learn Arabic. And because they learn Arabic, they're saying new words like what? Malik or Malik. Right. Malik, which is actually not the actual pronunciation of the word in Arabic, but nonetheless, that's why I went to school with so many Maliks. It doesn't make any sense. So many Maliks, because everybody was using these, these Arabic names and so on. So Malak is the right form, the ancient Hebrew form, right? But you can see the relationship between the languages. You can see Malik, Malak. There's a connection, okay? But yeah, Malak would be an example of this. So like we learned, we're going to use the right form at the beginning of a word. As such, we're going to use the la, right? We're doing Assyrian right now because only an Assyrian has this, right? The la, we learn, we do this, and then we come a little bit around, the la, and then what? We can't use this. That would not be correct. It would not be correct to use that form of ka. You have to use the appropriate one, which would be this. You understand? Now, check it out. With that being said, that's because it's the last letter in the word. But you have other words. For example, the word for kingdom is malakwath. Right? Malakwath, right? And guess what? We are going to use this symbol now because it's no longer the last letter in the word. Now, because it's not the last letter in the word, we're going to use the appropriate symbol. Okay? You follow me? Don't get confused by this. All right? Just to show that, because we skipped the ka before, so Salakia. All right. Aba ga da ha wa za ha ta ya ka la ma.
Nah.
Khan. Na, which comes from the ancient Hebrew word, I believe, no one, which means to sprout. And this symbol is representative of almost planting a seed, right? Again, when you see this hook like this, not all the time, but most of the time, I say, oh, then it actually could be all the time, really. Yeah, almost all the time. It's representing something in relation to the ground or the earth, right? So this is representative of a seed being planted, okay? And again, if you flip this around, you could see the shapings of an N if you really look at it, if you flip it upside down, right? Now the na in Assyrian is similar to the situation with the ka and the ma in that it has a different symbol when it's the last letter of a word. So the base form looks like a 3, but just not as, strongly divided. But it looks that's the base form of a na. Just a moment. Now, the form we're going to use at the end of a word, same thing. Like the ka, if we're writing it on a line or on paper with lines, this would be on the line. This would be on the line. But the symbol for at the end of a word, again, similar. We're going to follow this path, but we're going to drag it right down. It's like this, right? And then we're going to go, instead of coming back out, no, we're going to keep going. So it almost looks like a very, very tall question mark. Okay? So if we say the Hebrew word khan, right? Khan, if we transfer this into ancient, right, we know it would be ka and a na, and it's one syllable, so we know we have to use one connector. But if we're writing it in Assyrian, we're going to use a ka, the appropriate one at the beginning of a word, and then the na, we can't use that symbol. That would be incorrect. Okay, that would not be correct. We have to use the appropriate one for the end of a word, which again is like such. Okay? Most High in Christ. All right. We rolling right along. Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na. What's next?
Sa.
Sa. Sa. Right? So the sa in ancient, we know this symbol represents what? the skeleton of an ancient flag. It's like an ancient flag pole. Okay, so it has a stalk in the middle, and then 3 that go across and get a little bit shorter as we go. Okay, and this is what you would hang a flag on. Flags, of course, we know ancient flags didn't hang on a pole like this and kind of go, you know what I mean, like that. That's not how ancient flags were. Ancient flags were not horizontal, they were vertical. Okay, so as we've said many times, you would have this in the back, and then on it you would hang a flag that was like tall, a tall rectangle like this, and like we said, it might have a shield on it. You know what I'm saying? Might have some, might have some words on it. You know what I'm saying? It might say, Yah, Shah, Allah. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. That's what an ancient flag would look like. Okay. And but what was holding up that flag would be this. Okay. Now in Assyrian, the Sa, right? Now this one is a doozy. I'm gonna show you why. The handwritten form of the Sa is like a circle. It's like this. It's like a circle with a little at the top, like alfalfa. If you ever seen Little Rascals. All right. Let me actually make it a little more pronounced so y'all can see it. However, if you direct your attention, I'm gonna show a full screen. If you direct your attention to the image here, right, you'll see that the Sa, the printed form of it, let me scroll over. The printed form of it is not as circular. It shows it like this, but when you see it in the actual Tanakh, it is sometimes very difficult to see. It looks like a Ma. So if you look at the Sa in the printing form, and then look at the ending, the Ma at the end of a word, right? So this is the Sa. See my mouse there? This is the Sa, and then this is the Ma. When you see this in a Tanakh, it is very difficult to distinguish. You can distinguish it. It's doable, but you have to really, really pay attention. Okay? You really got to focus. Okay? Salakia. All right. Now, so Aba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Ha, Ta, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Sa. What's next?
I.
Like, what was that? I think you said I, right? That's correct. I. That's how you pronounce this symbol. I. And the ancient symbol literally is an I. It comes from the word ayin. Ayin, which means eye, like eyeball. That's what that word means. Okay. And then in Assyrian, this is the I. It's like a backward Y. Okay. Sometimes you'll see it with two little with marks like such. Most High in Christ. Ba ga da ha wa za ha ta ya ka la ma na sa I. What's next?
Hi.
Khan, pa. Pa. In ancient, simple. Bop, bop. It represents a mouth. Imagine if I was to draw like a person, I could draw a nose up here and some eyes or whatever, and this would be like their mouth from the side. Okay. In Assyrian, it's interesting. It's an interesting letter that also has a base form and a form at the end of a word. Okay. So, as you can see, right? It's like it's almost like a G, like a weird upside down or like a G, but turned 180 degrees or something, right? That's the pa, okay? And then the form at the end of a word, same thing, right? But you're going to keep going. And it's actually Shalakia. If I could, let me fix it a little bit. It kind of has, there we go. That's better. It has this little line. You can't forget that. So it's not just in like that. It comes out. That's important. All right. And then the same thing, line like this, almost like playing hangman. At the end. Oh, so like, let me change this so y'all can see it. My bad. There you go. That's correct. All right. Ba ga da ha wa za ka slaki ka ta ya ka la ma na sa I pa.
Tazah.
Khan, the tazah, right? Now, of course, we know that, again, technically, it is not tazah. Tazah. It's closer to like tazah. It's like
Tazah.
tazah, right? But again, accents, how we're used to saying stuff, we're just more, it's more comfortable to our palate to say tazah. Right, you know what I mean? And again, it feels right because we're not used to saying these kind of symbols, these kind of syllables, these kind of consonants. We don't have anything comparable in English to like a tz, tz, tz. Like we don't really have that, right? But nonetheless, right, this is right? It's gonna be a line straight down and then like a Z kind of sticking out of it. That's the tazah in ancient, right? And then in Assyrian, the tazah is going to be similar to an I, but in the opposite direction, and it's going to have a bait. This is how I personally go about it. I just draw one line down like such, like a slash, a curved slash, then bring it right back, and then just have the other line come out. And then, of course, at the top, the two jots. No, tittles. They're tittles.
Yeah.
Con, not jots, tittles. Right. The crossing of a T is a tittle, not a jot. A jot is the dot of an I. A tittle is the cross of a T. Salakia. Con. Right. The two tittles. Come on, we're all grown. So now we have the two tittles up there. This is how you would write the base form of Tizah. Okay. Now, again with the similar theme as in the other ones, again, if we had lines or line paper, this would be on the line. This would be on the line. But for this one, we're gonna do what? It's gonna go down all the way past the line, like that. Okay. We right at the finish line. We're just about done with this. So we know exactly how to write these. Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, za. What's next? Yeah.
Like this.
You said qua?
Oh. Yes, like it's a
Qua.
Qua, right? The qua. Okay. The qua in ancient represents an ancient mousetrap, right? A snare. And then in Assyrian, it's going to be, it's a weird one. It's like a line, like such. And then it's almost like a disconnected R. Like that. It's weird. But that's what it is. It's like a line. These two lines don't connect. Okay. It's like a line, right? And then this kind of outline like an R, but then it doesn't extend past this little short part right there. It doesn't extend further than that. And that's the qua. All right. Most High in Christ. Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, ta, za, qua.
Ra.
Ra. Excellent. Oh, let me move this up a little bit so y'all can see it. God. Ra. Ra, stemming from the word Ra'ash, which means head. So this symbol, the Ra, is a very simplified, kind of crude form of just drawing a person. Imagine this being someone's head, like this, the back of their head, their neck, and then they're facing this way, right? It's a crude, fast way of writing it, of drawing it, okay? But that's the symbol for a Ra in ancient, okay? Then in Assyrian, a Ra is going to be almost, to some degree, a little similar to what we have in English. In English, a lowercase r might be written as such. In Assyrian, it's kind of like that, but just without the, the little stem here, right? It's just going to be a line that's going to gently curve back in on itself like that. And that's the Ra. All right. For time's sake, I won't go through the whole alphabet again. Next, we have the what? Oh, right.
Sha.
Most High in Christ. Excellent. It's the Shah. Damn right. The Shah. Okay, this is one of the ones where in the ancient and the Assyrian they're very similar, right? Where it's not, they're different, but you see the relationship between them. And ancient is a straight up, in terms of our English knowledge, it's a W. That's what it looks like, a W. Of course, it doesn't have the same pronunciation, but the symbol is written like this. This is a Shah in ancient. And in Assyrian, it's also a double, will look like a W. It's a little more festive. It has these lines. So I draw it like this, right? Because it has this kind of line like this, and then it goes under, and a line like this, and then it has one that just kind of comes up in the middle, like that, right? You see that it still has, some connection. You see the relationship, okay? But this is definitely looks more, it just looks different, okay? But yeah, this is the Shah, ancient and Assyrian. We did that. God, let me make sure I did all those correctly. And last but not least, the symbol that is the first symbol of my name will be the
Thou.
Most High in Christ. The Tha. Okay. In ancient, we know this symbol comes from a word that expresses a mark. So it's similar to where you get the phrase X marks the spot. It's like a X, but one of them extends a little farther. The one from the left to the right extends down a little farther. Okay. And then in the Assyrian, it's think of it like a Ra, like you write a Ra, but then you connect a line right here, but you don't go straight down. You kind of curve it out first, Salakia. You kind of start here and then just curve it out a little bit. There we go. And there we have the Tha. All right. With that being said, I want to see if everybody, let's just pronounce it. I want to hear each person just run through the alphabet. Just run right on through it, all right? I'm going to go first, all right? So I want everybody to do what I do, but I'm going to go first. Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, tza, kwa, ra, sha, tha. All right? Now, don't try to, if you just need to take your time, take your time. You know what I mean? But let's hear everybody run through it. All right, Yanazar, you want to go ahead, bro?
Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, tza, kwa, ra, sha, fa.
Salakia. Sis, young man, who wants to give it a try first?
I'm Slacky, sir.
Yeah, sis.
Abba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha. Ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, a, pa, ta, cha, ka, ka.
Wow. Try like this. Wow. There you go. Perfect.
Ka, za, wa, ha, da, wa, ga.
Salaki, I might have messed you up. Start from the la again, Papa. Start from the la. Then you go from right to left.
Ma, na, sa, a, pa, ta, ka.
That's tza. Tza.
Za, wa, ha, da, ga.
Start back at tza. Says tza. The T-A-Z.
Wa, okay, za, wa, ha, da.
You're going backwards. Remember, you don't read it from left to right. You read it from right to left.
Yes, I'm concerned. Za, wa, W-A, the W-A, right?
No, you went backwards. You already did why. You all the way at the end now.
Oh, that's the way I have it written down. Oh, okay.
No, you too off, sis. So I'm gonna put it up on the screen. So read it from the screen from right to left. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see it. You're just gonna read. Let me show you. So you're just gonna read. See these right here? Ah, ba, ga. You're just gonna read these from right to left. All right?
Concept.
Yeah, it says.
Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ta, ya, ka, la, ba, na, sa, pa, ta, za, kwa, ra, sha, da.
Give her a hand. Well done, sis. All right, young man.
A ba ga da ha wa za ka ta ya ka la ma na sa I pa da za kwa ra sha tha.
Excellent. Well done. All right. So that's the letter form. Now we know, again, the approach to writing out the letters. All right. That's how we're going to approach it. Now, with that being said, we're going to shift over to our prefixes. Okay. So I'm going to get this out the way for now. Salakia. All right. So now let's deal with our prefixes, right? I'm probably going to have to end the class on this, but that's no sweat. Who can tell me what a prefix is?
Salaki, sir.
Go ahead.
When the words are broken down with more than one syllable?
Nah, not quite, okay? No sweat, though. A prefix. Yo, young man, do you have something?
The prefix is what comes at the beginning of the word.
Right. Let's get the actual definition. Yanazo, if you could get the definition of a prefix.
The first definition says to fix or appoint beforehand, to place in front, to add as a prefix, a syllable to a word, Salak, here's the definition, and affixed attached to the beginning of a word, base or phrase, and serving to produce a derivative word or an inflectional form, a title used before a person's name.
No, read that one again. That last one is absolutely correct.
Okay. And affixed attached.
And affixed attached meaning is what?
At the beginning.
It's at the beginning.
Joined to a word.
There we go. It is affixed to. It is attached it is connected to the beginning, hence the word prefix or preposition. Pre means before. So it's affixed or attached to the beginning of a word. Go ahead.
Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. Okay. And serving to produce a base or phrase, and serving to produce a derivative word.
And serving to produce a derivative word, a word that is derivative of the root word, right?
Or an inflectional form.
Or an inflectional form, meaning, without getting too deep into it, meaning you take the root, right? And now because you've added this prefix, it's still the same concept, but it's inflected. It's a little bit different. It's changed somehow. Okay. For example, an example of this would be in English, the word preposition or the word prefix. The prefix in the word prefix is pre, which means what? Before. So when you put pre in front of a root word, an appropriate root word, now, so if I say, if something is historic, right, this is part of history. It is part of written, recorded history. But if something is prehistoric, it is before recorded history. The historic part is still relevant to understanding what we're talking about, but because I've attached this prefix, it now is an inflection. It's changing, right? The word. It's now a derivative of this. It's related to this, but it's a little different. So that's how we get prehistoric. Prefix, preposition. Preview. A view of something is a look of something. But to preview something is to look at it before, something else. So this is what we use the same thing in Hebrew, the same concept, right? Except unlike in English, even though it can be multiple letters, so I won't confuse you with that. But let's get into some of these prefixes, right? Because we're done with it. It's the water for that. That was excellent. All right. So what we're about to see are things attached to the beginning of Hebrew words that affect the meaning or change the inflection. Count the water. We're not going to be able to get through all of these due to the time, but no sweat. Hold up. So here's a few. And I'm going to write the symbols at the beginning. A slash might be better. Which is the wa. What does wa mean at the beginning of a word? Please.
The wa at the beginning of a word means and.
Right. Perfect. And, okay. And I soloed my screen just so y'all can see it, larger, that's all. All right. So the wa at the beginning of a word means and, right? We saw that when we went to the book of Genesis. right? Go to blueletter.org. Go to Genesis 1 and 2. Genesis, the first chapter and the second verse. The first word in English of that verse is, and the earth was without form. And the first word in Hebrew is what? Wa ha oratiza, which shows our second preposition or prefix. Salakia. Which is the ha, which is what? The. Also known as the indefinite article. Excuse me, the definite article, excuse me. Then we have some more. We have the ya, which is he or it. Then we have the ma, which is of or from. Just a couple more. Then we have the ba, which is in or on. And then we have the la, which is two. Okay. And there's more. We're gonna learn more. Okay. We're gonna learn more. This is just basic. We don't have enough time to go through all of them. All right. We had plans to go to Genesis 1 and 2 and 1 and 3 and so on. So we didn't have time to do that. But what we will do, let's go to Genesis 1 and 3 real quick and start it off. Let's start off Genesis 1 and 3. And let's see if we can't see any of these symbols right at the outset. All right. So it's a short scripture. I'm going to write it out in Assyrian. Read it. No, actually, yeah, don't read it. I mean, you could read it, but I don't know if I want you to read it in English. Yeah, read it in English.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 3. And God said, let there be light, and there was light.
Very famous scripture. And read it in the Hebrew real quick.
Got my car, sir.
So Yanazar is going to read that in the Hebrew. And let's see if we can at least identify some of these prefixes. Go ahead.
The book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 3. Waya Amar, Alahayim, Yahaya, a war. Wayahaya, a war.
Anybody catch any of them? There's only one, actually. It appears twice, but there's only one. The word Amar, actually, I'm wrong. It's two.
Slackers, I see some of the
Go ahead.
I see the prefix. I'm looking at the cell phone, and I see, and I can see there.
Mm-hmm.
I see
That's correct.
the wa
Right. The wa, as in and.
and I
Correct.
see
Right here. And it also is here
see
as
it
well.
another place too. Yes.
Yeah. But there's another one. For time's sake, I'll give it to you. This ya is also a prefix. Because the root word here is amar. Amar means to say. Okay. Amar means to say. So basically what it's saying is, and he said, God, or the Most High, be light. And there was, or and exists. So be here is like, it just means, again, to exist, right? So exist or be. So be light and was light, or and be light. A war means light. Okay?
Okay.
So there's three. There's wa is and then there's ya for he. And he said, the Most High, be light and was light. Perfect. All right. Most High in Christ. Well done. We're going to finish this next week. We're going to continue going to verse 4 and see how these prefixes will just be so beneficial to us in reading and pronouncing everything. All right. Are there any questions in the room? No sweat. Giannis, are you good? Con. And with that, I'm going to pass the class over to priest and officer. Giannis.
Hey, shalom to the brother and the sister out there, you know. We love your participation, man. For real. Security announcements. We are the ISUPK out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or a sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are here to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or a sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18 and 21. In the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verses 8 through 10, means 10th in the Hebrew and is pronounced ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priest. Not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation would be the Feast of Purim. I think it's March 7th, Salakia, the water. March 5th and 6th, the Feast of Purim. Of course, on April 1st, in Raleigh, North Carolina, the 54th annual Passover. And remember, y'all, the Passover, attending the Passover is a law. You know, but hey, if you never attended a Passover before, let me tell you this. It is the most glorious thing a black person could ever do or participate in on the planet Earth, man. And it is wonderful to see, man, all the things that you see and what you learn about your culture. And with that, we got Remind Akim and Akwatium. That's April 1st, Raleigh, North Carolina. Remind Akim and Akwatium to check on social media such as isupk.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he has to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirt, pants, headband,